What is up, guys? Rick Kakis here. Thank you so much for stopping by, and today we have a story that's hot off the press but is incredibly interesting. Bungie has actually teamed up with RIot Games to go and sue cheat makers, and this has the possibility to impact the entire gaming industry going forward. And so, let's get started. But just before we do, who needs cheats when you got that advanced GG Focus, the best and only clinically proven gaming supplement out there? You get that energy and that focus to hit those headshots like you got perfect aim. Check the link in the description down below or use code KHD for 10% off. Alright, now let's talk about this lawsuit, because again, this is out of the ordinary. Like, we don't usually have this kind of lawsuit, and I'll explain why, which makes it very interesting. Now, it should be noted, I'm obviously not a lawyer. I want to give a shout out to Parasito on Twitter, who did a good job breaking a lot of this stuff down, but let's get started on why this is a big deal. But first off, the obvious question, why is Bungie teaming up with RIot Games? Well, although they're most known for League of Legends, they also recently made Valorant, which is a first-person shooter, as is Destiny 2. So the cheat maker they're going after, which is called GatorCheats, makes cheats for both Destiny 2 and Valorant and a bunch of other games. But essentially these two studios came together and said, look, we're both being impacted quite a bit by this same cheat making company. Let's team up, use both of our legal resources, and go after this cheat maker. Now, here's where things get pretty crazy. And here's why this lawsuit is so interesting. Normally, when you have developers or parent companies like Activision, etc., going after cheat makers, they send them cease and desists. Essentially, it's a legal order saying, stop what you're doing, right? And in fact, GatorCheats in the past was sent a cease and desist. Now, upon getting so, they said, all right, we're going to stop selling cheats, but we're still gonna support people who have already purchased our cheats, because essentially you gain access to these cheats with like a monthly service. For example, you could pay $90 a month to gain access to this cheating software, or $500 for lifetime access. And again, people who already did that, they didn't get the cheats yanked from them. GatorCheats said, we're still gonna let you use our software after receiving the cease and desist. But in the documents, it's actually unveiled that Bungie and or RIot Games has some evidence that GatorCheats was actually selling cheater software on the sly via a private part of their website after they received the cease and desist. And that would violate the cease and desist, which is obviously a big deal. And unfortunately, that storyline is often what happens with these cheat makers and cease and desists. It certainly hurts them, it certainly slows their operations, but it doesn't really completely shut them down. However, the big thing about this lawsuit and why this is such a big deal is that this is not a cease and desist. Bungie and RIot want to take this all the way to court. That's right, this is a full-out lawsuit. So, what is RIot and Bungie seeking to accomplish? Number one, they want to ban GatorCheat and their staff from making, selling, or supporting more hacks and software designed to give you an unfair advantage. So that's very important because it goes so much further than the original cease and desist, which again was violated, which gives them a lot of precedence within this matter. So, importantly, this would mean that not only do they have to stop making it, but everyone out there who currently has access to those cheats, they would not be supported anymore. So if you are on like a monthly subscription service with GatorCheat, if they win this lawsuit, that would be pulled from you and you would no longer gain access to that cheat. So if they win, then the overall number of cheaters would drop, which is a fantastic thing. All right, but Number 2, they want to shut down all of GatorCheats services and software, which again goes into what I said before. And importantly, number 3, they want to deliver a copy of the hacks for analysis. So they actually want GatorCheat to basically send Bungie and RIot the cheating software so they can see how they got around the anti-cheat. And I know anti-cheat in Destiny 2 is a bit of a meme, but certainly it's more solid in Valorant, and they're still getting through Valorant. So this would help both Bungie and RIot build better anti-cheat in the future by seeing how these people got around their anti-cheat, and that's obviously a fantastic thing as well. Number 4, they want sales records. So they actually are going after, within this lawsuit, records of who they sold this cheating software to. So potentially this is going to be used to cross-reference when you report a player. They can look up that player, potentially look up that IP and see, yup, this is one of the people that was sold cheating software, and so they can get that permanent ban going. So that could be very interesting as well. Continuing on there, the next thing they want is, quote, actual or maximum statutory damages. Now that is a lot of money. In fact, let's expand on that principle of money because the next few things are related to that. They also want full attorney fee coverage, which is essentially the people who lose the lawsuit paying for the attorneys of RIot and Bungie. They also want exemplary and punitive damages, which is like a screw you fee, and they want all of the money that GatorCheat got from selling those hacks. So essentially taking all of their profit. So again, this is just absolutely massive, and there is a lot of relation to the experience of these games and cheating. If you go against cheaters, you have a high likelihood of at least stopping playing the game for that day, if not quitting the game entirely. And both Bungie and RIot could point to player numbers and point to the rise of cheaters, especially in Destiny 2, stuff like Trials of Osiris on PC, heavily impacted by cheaters, and say, hey, we lost a significant amount of revenue due to the players forced to quit. Or if they didn't quit, they had a substantial loss of enjoyment in the game, which would influence their purchases. You're less likely to spend money in the Eververse store, for example, if you're having a miserable time with cheaters, obviously. Also, if they're having a bad time, they're less likely to buy the next expansion. All of that is very common sense stuff, and it's going to go into help proving that the monetary impact on both Valorant and Destiny 2, which is what we're mainly looking at here, was significantly impacted by the presence of these cheats. In fact, I want to read you guys a part of this lawsuit because it actually shows that, you know, Bungie and Valorant, they get it. Now, with respect to specifically Destiny 2, it says, matches played in Destiny 2's PvP modes are intense and highly competitive affairs. In Destiny 2, competition can be particularly intense due to the presence of rare loot, which can affect player progression. In addition to the prestige of increasing one's rank and character power. As a result, the demand for software that gives players an unfair advantage in Destiny 2 PvP modes is particularly high. Now, moving on from there, Destiny 2's PvE modes can also become intense affairs because players can obtain special physical merchandise if they earn in-game achievements by completing very challenging content within specific time frames. As such, many players take part in highly competitive achievement hunting in the hopes of obtaining these awards. The idea that players could qualify for these difficult to obtain awards by using cheat software, or that they are progressing more rapidly in order to become competitive by using cheats, cheapens the experience for legitimate players. Wow, like, if any of us watching was to basically lay out why cheating is bad, we would basically say exactly those statements within this lawsuit. And that's fantastic. Again, it shows that the legal departments and at least the Bungie and RIot, they get it. They know why this is a huge issue. And interestingly, I want to point out that bottom section is about PvE. Specifically, I think the language really pertains to raids and day one raiding. There was a big concern over the last day one raid that cheaters, people who could just revive instantly, people who had mountaintops that could shoot at 1,000 rounds per minute and stuff like that, would gain an unfair advantage to not only potentially win the world's first race, but also just beat it within that day one experience. And the fact that they actually kind of lay out in PvE why it's a problem too is kind of an angle that we don't often see. Valorant's not going to have that same angle, but it's interesting to see it voiced. Now, how likely is this to all go down? How likely is it for Riot and Bungie to win this lawsuit? Well, I would say pretty likely, especially because within the lawsuit, Bungie states that they actually, in their software license agreement, state that they don't allow boosting services and the like. So being able to massively boost your level, boost your loot in terms of being able to cheat and complete these activities unfairly, which is again what we looked at. So it's a pretty clear violation of that policy. Not to mention, I would imagine the legal power of Bungie and Riot would surpass whatever lawyers GatorCheats could scrape up, right? So there's a pretty good chance of this lawsuit ending favorably. Now, lawsuits take a long time. Don't think that this will be complete even within the next year, but if it is eventually settled, and if Riot and Bungie win, this sets legal precedence. And that is a very important term. Essentially what that means is when you're in a court of law, if you can point to similar cases that were settled in a certain way, that is very likely to help sway the decision in your favor, right? If you go and say, hey, the last umpteen times these people were sued or a similar case happened, it's settled one way, so the law is in my favor. So if Bungie and Riot wins, it kind of opens the floodgates for all these other companies to start suing these cheat makers on the precedence of what has happened in this lawsuit. And that's why I said at the beginning, this has the possibility to impact gaming as a whole in a significant way if that all actually occurs. So, pretty interesting topic. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, found this informative, and if you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.